Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, our special guest is Senator Greg Reed, President Pro Tem of the Alabama Senate. Also, the V-Team takes a look at Space Command coming to Huntsville. And Tommy Tuberville gives his first official interview.
A strange intersection in a shadowland called the Twilight Zone.
Spooky. All this and much, much more coming up next on The V. Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and today I'm joined by Susan Britt, research guru extraordinaire, and Josh Moon, investigative reporter and columnist at APR. Good morning.
Hey, guys.
Good morning.
So, over the weekend, or right before the weekend, our notorious bumper sticker bandit, I guess, printed up some new bumper stickers for us. It's a viewer out of Jefferson County, and it says, Tubby and Mo must go.
Those are excellent. Excellent. I like it a lot.
We have about 10. I'll be glad to send you to it. Anybody else that would like one? There's 10 available, or a little less than 10. So if you would like one, just send us an email. We'll see what we can do about it. All right, Tubbs and Mo must go.
Yeah.
This week we asked if Congressman Mo Brooks should be removed from office. Should he be expelled from the House? An unscientific poll on Facebook showed that, Susan, a lot of people want Mo gone.
A lot of people want Mo gone in handcuffs. A lot of people want Mo gone in handcuffs to jail, but not in Alabama. They don't even want him to come back to the state.
Josh, I'd say there's Republicans and Democrats that are on that one.
Yeah. Mo has earned every bit of the heat that he's taken. He has purposefully, for the last several years, long before this. I mean, he was crazy long before this current outrage. He has been consistently racist. He has said vile and ugly things about people. He has stood on the floor and used socialist Democrats and used all the little buzzwords that you would normally hear on a message board as our congressperson there representing the state of Alabama. He has embarrassed the business community of this state over and over and over again as they try to go out and recruit businesses into this state. And he has absolutely embarrassed the constituents in North Alabama in his district over and over and over again. And I don't know how he gets elected. I don't know the people that vote for the guy, but honest to God, it's just the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in this state, that we continue to send this guy up there to represent us.
Well, Congress takes a simple oath. It's 14 words. It says, I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States. I think when Mo Brooks got up at that Trump rally, mm-hmm. and pointed people at the Capitol, mm-hmm. and said, let's go down there and take names. Let's be taking names and kicking ass. He wasn't talking about donkeys like he said.
No.
He was talking about people.
He was.
And to me, that is violating his oath of office. And, Susan, the oath of office does not say, I will do what my constituents want, or I will do what is popular with the voters. It says the Constitution.
There's a reason it says that, because of this kind of mayhem, mm-hmm. That can ensue at any time. I mean, it's one thing to embarrass people. It's, to step out of line and say stuff on the floor. It's another thing to incite an insurrection of our government, which is exactly what he did.
Josh,
No, you're right. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, how can they impeach Donald Trump and not expel Mo Brooks?
I don't understand. I don't think you can do, not reason. You can't reason those things out. And, and I like to say, too, on his excuse of, well, I was talking about the ass that's the mascot of the Democratic Party. So you just meant to go down there and kick and hit or kick or, promote violence against the other side because you disagree with them politically. Oh, well, that's much better, Mo. Yeah. That's a lot better excuse. Yeah, I mean, shut up. I mean, it was he knew what he was doing. He was inciting those people, and he was pushing them like he was always would because he's so dumb he could never see the consequences of his words. And so here we are.
And the boys never spent any time on a farm because there's a definite difference between a donkey and a jackass. Two totally different things there.
Well, I don't think he knows the difference between hay and straw. I don't know. I want to move on. Alabama has landed the U.S. Space Command headquarters. Mm-hmm. I know there's some caveats in there, but these things usually go through. And Governor Kay Ivey announced it this week, and so did Senator Shelby. Josh, I thought it was telling when Governor Kay Ivey sent out her tweet. She thanked Senator Shelby. She thanked former Senator Jones. She thanked Mike Rogers, Representative Mike Rogers, and she thanked Tommy Battle. Mm-hmm. I didn't hear a peep about the other guys.
Yeah, well, it's a shame that you couldn't get the true space cadet up there in North Alabama to work in his own district. But honestly, it's anybody who was involved in this, they know better. They wouldn't have let Mo involved in those negotiations. They wouldn't have let Tuberville involved in the negotiations for this. What would they bring? They couldn't bring anything.
Time to be involved.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, there's a rumor out there. Go ahead, Josh. I'm sorry.
It's just that they needed competent, smart business people to work on this thing, and those two guys are neither.
Well, a lot of credit goes to Battle and Rogers and Kay Ivey. I think a tremendous amount of credit goes to Senator Richard Shelby.
Absolutely.
We got about a minute. I want to talk here a second about this thing. So Brooks comes out and then says, well, this might not be a done deal because the Democrats and Biden will take it away from us. If it gets taken away, it's because of Mo Brooks. Mm-hmm. It's because of Mo Brooks.
And he knows it.
Yeah. So he's already covering his butt. But I want to bring up one thing. They were about to say, I've heard this from Capitol Hill insiders, that Mo Brooks and Tommy Tuberville were about to say they cut a deal with Trump to get this. Mm-hmm. And we reported on it. And if you look at the Colorado papers, they're saying the reason that Alabama got it over Colorado is because Mo Brooks and Tommy Tuberville cut a deal to back the president to overthrow an election.
Wonder where they could have heard that.
Yeah, that's nonsense.
Tuberville wasn't around long enough. Mo Brooks was not involved. I mean, Jesus.
Yeah, but they made a deal with Trump.
During an insurrection.
If you think that, you don't understand how the process like that works and how long this has been going on and how much effort these people involved up here in North Alabama have put into that project, and to shrink it down to that sort of nonsense would be ridiculous in any circumstance. And the idea that Trump would need Alabama Republican support down here, I mean, for God's sakes, could they support him more?
No. Well, we're going to have to hold it right there. You're watching the voice of Alabama politics. Tubby and Mo gotta go.
So you got caught speeding. But this time you got more than a ticket.
What are you in for?
Vehicular homicide.
Stop speeding before speeding stops you. Drive safe, Alabama. A message from your Alabama Department of Transportation.
Your career isn't a job, it's a journey. Your next job could lead to bigger things, and you're in charge of how fast and how far you want to go. At alabamaworks.com, you can connect with employers and start working right now. Then chart your path forward with training and career planning tools. That next paycheck is great, but it's only the beginning. Start a great success story at alabamaworks.com.
A lot can change in 5 years, except those smile lines you treated with Bellafill.
Because that's about how long Bellafill will keep them smooth and filled. 5 years. Now you can always look your best without all those injections, appointments, and costs. Bellafill is the only dermal filler that stimulates and maintains collagen growth long term. Now time is on your side.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. Our special guest today is Senator Greg Reed, President Pro Tem of the Alabama Senate. Welcome, Senator Reed.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate the opportunity to be with you. It's always a privilege to interact with you and your team. Look forward to our visit today.
Well, you are welcome here anytime, and we appreciate your leadership, and we're looking forward to many years of working together. It seems unbelievable, but session is just a little more than 2 weeks away. I know that you have a lot on your plate. Could we talk real quickly about what you see as the priorities for the 2021 session?
Well, you're right. We began on February the 2nd, so it's not far off. We've been working with Senate leadership and my colleagues related to a number of topics, and working with the House leadership in regards to trying to narrow down the priorities that are most important to the people as we get started with the session. I think there are probably 3 topics that are paramount in regards to the priorities for both chambers. And number 1 on those is a liability legislation carried by Senator Orr out of Decatur in the Senate, and it basically tries to eliminate frivolous lawsuits associated with coronavirus. This is something supported across the board: business, healthcare, trial lawyers. Everyone is engaged in trying to protect the judiciary in this situation. So I think that's important. Another one is not taxing the stimulus resource, whether it be PPP loan that you got for your business or an individual check you receive from the federal government as stimulus. Those should not be taxed by Alabama. And so there's legislation required to make that statutory that those are not going to be taxed. So I think that's something that's important to the people. And I know both chambers are in agreement. The other thing is incentives for attracting industry to Alabama. And Bill, this is something that's really important to me. We've had 3 pieces of legislation over the last 4 years: the Alabama Jobs Act, the Growing Alabama Act, and the AIM Act, of which I have been the sponsor of all 3 of those pieces of legislation in the state Senate. Recruiting industry to Alabama and increasing jobs and growing our economic, manufacturing, and industrial base is the most important thing to us. And so in trying to look at these incentives, the legislature on purpose said we're going to sunset those incentives after 4 years, to really force us into a situation to re-examine what is a very competitive environment, whether we're competing with Georgia or Mississippi or Michigan or wherever, to try and attract these industries to come to Alabama. We need to make sure that we're using every tool available to us to be able to do that. So I've been working closely with Chairman Bill Poole out of Tuscaloosa and Secretary Canfield on those incentives. So that's going to be the third piece that will be a high priority for the legislature as we get started.
And these are all things that I think the legislature's prepared for. I think this has been in the news, and we've talked about it to great extent. And it seems like there won't be any resistance to these packages. One of the things that has been bandied about a lot is how are we going to have session where, in the midst of a global pandemic, we get a bunch of people together, lawmakers, media, general public, lobbyists. We all get together at the State House. How are we going to stay safe?
Well, that's a big question that we've been working on. Of course, we've dealt with this already as we ended the session last year early, came back for a small segment to try and work on budgets and some things that were just the minimum requirements. As a result of the virus, it really had a huge effect on us. And it's a very serious issue with me. I take it very seriously. I've had a number of senators in my caucus that have been very sick with the coronavirus. So we have to take it seriously. I've had folks in my church and folks in my community that have fallen ill, and some of them have lost their lives to this virus. So we have to be serious about it. At the same time, we have a constitutional responsibility to do the people's business. And there's a lot of things that are on the radar that need to be managed and dealt with, just like the topics that we just spoke about. So we're going to have to come back to Montgomery and do our work as transparent and as open as we can, but as effective and as safely as we can. And so the way we're going to do that, if you think about the State House, on any given day, legislators, staff, and the general public, there's 500 or 600 people that are in that building. So there's going to be some level of requirement for people that are coming into the building. We're going to be offering all kinds of options to staff where they're going to be following themselves with an app on their phone, temperature checks, questions about their health. We've got testing that's going to be available and going to be required. We've got a program, certainly for the general public. We're going to have the building open for the public. The House of Representatives is going to have options on first floor and second floor of the building. Whereas you come in the building, you'll be directed to areas that will have television set up where you can watch things that are going on in the building, but also areas where members can reserve rooms to have meetings with constituents from their districts or with lobbyists or whoever they want to meet with. The Senate's going to do the same thing on the third floor of the State House. And also the Senate is going to be allowing members to have meetings in their offices. So if someone has an appointment, they can't hang around in the hallways as is normally the case.
Right.
But be able to, let me turn my phone off here, be able to have opportunity for meetings in their offices. And that's something that is important. I think that's important to our membership. And so they'll be able to do that, but in a safe way. Be several requirements for that. One of the things we're going to look to do moving forward is we're going to work for 2 weeks diligently to try and get as much done as we can. And then on the third week, kind of take a break. There may be some committee activity that week, but the goal is to stop, work with the House and the Senate leadership, understand where we are, what have we accomplished, where are we on our priorities, how are the protocols working, and just kind of reassess and make sure that we're doing the right things moving forward, taking input from members and staff members, working with the clerk of the House, the secretary of the Senate, to make sure that we're doing things as effectively and as safely as we can. It won't be perfect, but it's the best we can do.
Well, these are trying times for everyone. There's a lot at stake. This business of the state has to go forward. I want to thank you for joining us today. I want to thank you for the work that you're doing for the people of Alabama. And you are always welcome to come back. It is an open door for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill.
You're watching The voice of Alabama politics. Our special guest today has been Senator Greg Reed, President Pro Tem of the Alabama Senate. We'll be right back.
You'll never guess what 400,000 people in the U.S. were using when they crashed their cars last year. No, not this. This. Distracted driving will kill you. Drive safe, Alabama. A message from your Alabama Department of Transportation.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. You know, congressional members of the Republican delegation in Alabama supported overturning the elections in certain states that would have swung the election to Donald Trump. Other state House Republicans favored that as well. You can look at them as patriots, or you can look at them as members of the Hall of Shame. But Josh, I thought we'd look at some of what these guys did. A few of them did during that and leading up to it and afterwards. And the first one, excuse me, to come to mind is Steve Marshall. Steve Marshall had a very big role in the march that led to the riots that tried to usurp the government.
He did. You know, the organization he chaired the Rule of Law Defense Fund, which is part of the Republican Association of Attorney Generals, or the Republican Attorney General Association, and they funded a lot of that stuff. They promoted it. They pushed it out. They did robocalls encouraging people to get there. They had a guy that spoke at the event. In addition to that, not to be forgotten, Steve Marshall jumped on this bandwagon, to challenge the elections in filing the lawsuit that they hope to go to the Supreme Court without an ounce of proof. And as a matter of fact, filed it against other states for doing the same things Alabama had done in changing election laws and rules.
Susan, I mean, the fact that the head of RAGA resigned over this says something. Now, Steve Marshall says he's going to investigate his own organization.
He's going to investigate himself. That's rich. Yeah. Not surprisingly at all. I mean, the guy will do anything for a headline. I mean, that's just obvious. But, and he's going to jump up and investigate something that he supported all along. And that's just...
And Jonathan put this picture back up. Here is Steve Marshall's official picture on his Attorney General website. Is that a glamour shot? Or is that what those teenage girls use, Josh?
Well, it's definitely been run through a filter, or five,
or two.
And mean, come on.
If you pull it up close enough, you can see where they actually drew in his lips with a pink. And I'm talking about not this kind of pink, but a baby doll pink.
Well, I mean, that's a lot of vanity that you got the picture on your official government website is one it looks like a teenage girl ran it through Instagram or TikTok.
They need to get him one of those with the little, the little furry ears and the little furry. Yeah, well, he has that cute. Beard thing.
That'd be cute. Anyway, vanity of vanities, right? Barry Moore has been busy. He was a vocal opponent of. He wanted to overthrow the elections. And then he came back out. And Josh, he said some stuff on Twitter that got him banned. Got him banned.
Yeah, it's and really he should have been banned for general stupidity several years ago. And honestly, I got to be honest. The fact that Barry Moore can sign into Twitter is really a step higher than I thought he would be able to do. But all of these people that with the election challenge stuff, they at this point, now Kevin McCarthy's come out and said, "Oh, listen, there was no election fraud. Joe Biden was the winner. This has all been settled." So it was all a ruse. They all knew better. They all knew that this was not right. They all knew what they were doing and that they were lying about it. And I know that part of it was simply a political ploy to undermine Joe Biden going into his administration and try to cut some of the progress that he's going to take into this. I get that. I get the political nature of this. But my God, man, this has gone on long enough.
But Susan, this is. He said, "Wow, we have more arrests for stealing a podium on January 6th than we do for stealing an election on November 3rd. And then he comes back, or beforehand he said, "I understand it was a black officer that shot the white female veteran. That doesn't fit the narrative." He's talking about a woman who was trying to break into, coming through a window. She was tragically shot. she was doing what she wasn't supposed to be doing. But that sounds awfully racist.
Well,
to
it
me.
had nothing to do with the white or black police officer. It had to do that they were trying to break. They had already broken the windows on that door. The officers on the other side of that door were behind a barricade. They were in fear for their lives. Now, that had nothing to do with whether you were white or black.
No.
I'm sorry, Barry, but get a grip.
Yeah, I mean, and that is what, and I've talked to business leaders, I've talked to politicians, I've talked to former Army officers, and they all to one are ashamed of what happened to our Capitol. You know, I thought it was interesting. One of our military officers pointed this out to me. He said, you know, they pointed to a target and told them to go get them. And he also pointed out the fact that they really didn't vandalize the statues, the portraits, and that kind of stuff. What they vandalized, what they went in there is they went after people. But I guess we're gonna have to move on. Tommy Tuberville falsely claims that President Trump said he made a mistake.
Never happened.
Josh,
No, he never.
the President of the United States, never said he made a mistake.
No, he did not. As a matter of fact, he said it was a perfect speech. And everybody who had heard it and re-listened to it and read the transcript said it was a perfect speech, much like his phone call with the Ukrainian official was a perfect phone call. You know, always perfect.
Everything
I
he
don't
does is
understand. I don't
perfect.
understand how he keeps getting himself into trouble with all this perfect.
Well, and Tuberville had his first press briefing after he became senator, and it was just the most bizarre thing I think I've seen, because he absolutely made no sense most of the time, Josh.
He doesn't know, and he's not trying to know. I mean, and when you say, well, what doesn't he know? He doesn't know anything. He literally doesn't know the basics of the job. And he's
doesn't know
not
the
trying to
branches of
understand it.
government.
I just can't. It'll go down forever as one of the great tragedies of this state that we picked that guy by 20 points over Doug Jones. You know, no matter what you think of Doug Jones went in there and tried at that job. He put everything he had into it to learn the job, to learn what was going on, and to get in there and work with people. And Tommy Tuberville's done none of that, and he's not going to.
And enough work that KIB recognized him for the space station.
Well, that's going to have to be the last word. You've been watching the voice of Alabama politics. You watch us because we watch them.